2 minutes late, let's get this show on the road. Hello, comrades, and welcome to another episode of Under Construction. I think we should have started now. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as the Admiral. Maybe we didn't. Maybe the beginning of that got cut off. But the point is, hello and welcome back. Or welcome, if this is your first time through. Today, of course, we're working on our Forever project, but we're going to play a little bit of Not Tetris first, just to sort of get the stream worked up, as we do. I've got some topics for today, though. I've got some things to think about, things to talk about. We will maybe jump into those things when we actually start the proper, the stream part of the stream, the route building part of the route building stream, unless, of course, somebody prompts me, somebody beats me to it, because then I'll just have to talk about them. I'm going to forget otherwise, Alright, let's send this down there. But yeah, we'll have our soda. We also have a snack today. We got a little snack attack going on. I don't know if I'm actually going to start macking on it, but I got these bunch of crunch over here that I was given. Hello, Virgo. You get to bear the #1 crown. You're the first person to say anything. Again, YouTube is rewarding this now. Maybe they always should have. Maybe it was always a strategy, always a legitimate strategy to give a little crown to the person who says hello first. I think that's going to be a goof for a long time, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to start a stream and see that and not call it out until it gets old, and I don't know when it's going to get old. Alright, let's put this over here. Okay, we're going to lose 1 row. We don't have the chance to make it 2. Oh! Maybe we do. Hold on, let me... Oh, we did make it 2! Oh, and we're about to get another 2. Oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, but I can't touch anything or else it just sends it off immediately. Alright, right. We're about to play this game. Oh, no! Oh no, that's the beginning of badness right there. Alright, well, Virgo, I hope your Thursday's going just fine and dandy. Oh shoot. Myself could never get the hang of Thursdays. I have my... So I feel like I need to be more appealing to the people that come here from the Trainz official Discord. And I'm not entirely sure how I should be more appealing. I think one of those things is to get a less generic thumbnail, maybe actually show off some of the route now that I have enough of the route that I can show it off. And of course, I've had enough of the route for quite a while, but I leave my, I leave my thumbnails and intros where they lay most of the time. I don't have enough time to do the little things. I don't even have enough time to do the big things. Hello, Mossy Mug, with the #2 crown for the moment. Alright, hang on. So, Virgo, I see you've actually posted something I can really dig into, and I would like to. Because at a first thought, I have a... Oh my god, did you see all that? I would love to, show off a route or do a route review. I don't think I can... I don't think I can commit to that, is the problem. But, yeah, I mean... I know that you sort of got Weibold's attention, right? In the chat there. If I remember correctly, a while back you were showing it off, so... I'm not sure how much the 3/4 of an idiot knows about your endeavors, but they definitely do know, or at least 1/4 of an idiot knows about your endeavors. Alright, let's put this over here. And I will say, if you're talking about, and I'll dig into this more properly, but if you're talking about both 2-foot and 3-foot, I honestly think that the Iron Horseman Railroad is not really a good example, because I don't think I can call anything in there realistic. it is a really goofy railroad where if I were to make the Iron Horseman Railroad from first principles again, um, it would look nothing like the Iron Horseman Railroad. Number one, number two, it would probably start with a dem, and number three, it would have taken like about 1,000,000 years to make. Um, oh, and the highest score didn't get much. The video I made only has 100 views. I mean, 100 views is not terrible. I don't, I don't think I get that many views on these VODs. But, oh shoot. The reason I am not on the three-quarter of idiot show is because I am a full idiot myself. You can quote that. Oh, man. Well, I think the real reason is if everyone that wanted to get on the three-quarter show got on the three-quarter show, uh, Mark would never sleep. And he barely does that anyway. So, you know, uh, with him being a dad and all now, that's a joke. That's a joke. Nobody take that the wrong way. Um, hey, Train Street, you get the number 3 crown today. Let's see how long people hang on to their crowns. This has actually been a pretty good day for me in Not Tetris. Okay, let's do this here. I really, really would love to do the three-quarter show again, for obvious reasons. I'm bummed because I thought I was going to be able to see all of them in October, and that's not going to work out. I'm at least going to see Weibold, because he's coming to my wedding. But in the perfect world where I had unlimited space at the wedding, then oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot. In the perfect world where I had unlimited space at the wedding, obviously all the three-quarters of an idiot would have been there. But oh no! All right, well that's it. You'd have a fun citation needed. What would you do for the citation needed? And also, good luck keeping the 3. It's keeping the 3 or the 2. Like keeping the 1 is easy. You just keep busy. Keeping the 2 crown or the 3 crown seems like it would be unreasonably difficult. All right, let me share this in the Trainz official server, as I should do. You can have unlimited space at the wedding if I let everyone watch from the trees. Well, I'm basically doing that if the trees are the internet, right? They're the digital trees. So we'll figure that one out. No, okay. Trying to figure out uses for both 2-foot and 3-foot gauge railroads that interchange with the standard gauge railroad on a Trainz route I'm making. I wonder if there were... So, I think your best bet is to keep one or both of those pretty small scale. Like a 2-foot gauge forestry railway or mine railway. You need to think about, like, okay, what drove the creation of narrow gauge railroads, specifically those gauges in specifically those places. I mean, if you look at, the token 3-foot gauge is the Rio Grande, and the token 2-foot gauge is probably not the WWF, it's probably the SR and RL. Cash crop products, yeah, NB short lines, yeah. I mean, I can see it. The problem is getting 2 of them in proximity. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily out of the question, but something very small, like the Bridgeton and Saco River, or the Kennebec Central. Those would be good bets. Those would be good, like, this is your equivalent, right? For the 2-foot gauge. It goes from the standard gauge to one place for one reason, and that's it. And the other thing is, if you think about it, right, it has to do... All of these, they'd be on opposite ends of the route. Okay, well, then that makes it... That helps you a little bit, I think. You're going to want to sort of scale your gauges to your quantities. and commodities, really, but quantities of those commodities. You want your standard gauge to do all your hauling, most of your hauling, and then you want your 3-foot gauge to do these sort of larger bulk items, but not as much of them, or, whatever. I mean, you said cash crop. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but I can hazard a guess. Um, I'm sure they're going straight, like, to the, to the marijuana fields. Um, but the um, the 2-foot gauge is the lowest quantity, sort of the lowest capacity, and you're going to follow that. Money trees. Okay, yeah. Is this The Sims? Um, but literal cash crops. Yeah, no, they're just they're just piling it on there. Um, but yeah, that's sort of my thought, right? The best way to look at it is to put them far apart so that the entrepreneurs did not have like did not spend much time looking over each other's shoulders. You know, um, 3-foot is coal, maybe small amounts of goods, maybe passenger car sometimes. I would say coal is not bad. I might do some kind of ore. I mean, coal is pretty easy because you can just weave that into the supply chain for the rest of your railroad, um, and that's why it's very tempting. Uh, the thing is, coal is seldom in small amounts like that. Um, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad call. Iron ore is interesting. You might want to look into some things that show up that are slightly less bulk, like nickel or lead or silver even. Um, See what you can do with those things. Oh yeah, I am curious of the locale because that will also drive what goods are available. Of course, you don't necessarily have to pick a realistic locale. Um, oh, Allegheny region of Pennsylvania. Okay, yeah, and you've got the precedent there of of the East Broad top. Uh, and you could have a little wealthy coal hauler there. I would wonder something that would be really interesting. Something that would be really interesting, and hear me out on this. Um, is if you took your 3-foot gauge at one end of the railroad, which is pulling coal out of a mine and putting it into standard gauge cars at the transfer, which I assume is what you're going for. Um, and then at the other end of your railroad, you have a 2-foot gauge railroad that runs a mill complex and takes that coal and distributes it or takes it the final mile. Then you could have a really interesting setup where you are going from 3-foot cars to standard gauge cars to 2-foot gauge cars with the same commodity along the same railroad. Now, that could be boring also, like I'll warn you about that, but it's kind of interesting, you know. Um, Now you could still do other things with your 2-foot gauge if they didn't just run a mill, but now what would be extremely funny is if you had, uh, yeah, logging and lumber operation as well as a coal breaker. Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty interesting. Um, the Sorry, brain turning. Uh, yeah, logging and lumber for 2-foot is pretty bread and butter, right? Pretty two things that go together well. Um, Michelle My Belle. Let's put some parking spaces here. And let's also put some grass right here. Um, we played a concert at PN last night with $50 savers set up. What does that mean? What do you mean you played a concert? Hey Mopac. Also, Train Street, you lost your number 3. Uh-oh. Um, okay. Yeah, this is starting to look interesting. 3-foot would do one or two things, and the 2-foot would have a large variety because they're on the lower, less hilly side of the route. And I would assume, in order to... Okay, so Steel Beast History, let me answer your question first, because it's actually a route-related question, which is, I'm using these Yarnish roads, and the intersections I'm mostly making myself, but the Yarnish intersections work too. Yarnish is pretty comprehensive. I would absolutely recommend Yarnish, and be careful because Yarn also exists, and they're slightly different, and they lead to some weird goofs if you try to put them together. But as far as intersections go, if you look at this is a completely handmade intersection, and you can tell it is because there's some aberrations in the pavement, but you've got to learn to live with the bounce, so to speak. But if you go and look at something... Oh, shoot. If you go and look at something, let's say... Oops. There we go, that's a little better. Like this intersection here, I mean, you still have some minor aberrations, but you can see that it's all well and good. And the nice thing about Yarnish and building your own intersections is that you don't have to worry about snapping to a specific angle. You can have roads like this, which are not quite 90 degrees, not quite 90 degrees. You know, right angles aren't a real thing. Mathematicians made them up to sell more degrees. I don't believe in right angles. That's why none of the door frames in my house are straight. That's definitely the reason why, not because all the housework in the last 70 years was done by my dad and his dad, and neither of them have any formal carpentry training. They were just sort of winging it, and now I live here, and I'm stuck with it. Anyway, the route's going great, Knight Rider. I've been working on this downtownish area. I've been doing what I've been calling the triangle method, I guess, which is I just sort of cordon off an area and I finish everything in that area. Everything in this direction is done. At least as far as... Oh, and I said I would work on industries today, but that's boring. But everything in this area is done, like, from here to the east. Obviously, the route is not seeded. There are only a couple of cars in these yards and things like that. I was mostly just putting down stuff to test it out. My soda has arrived. Hello, my darling.
Hello! You want to guess what it is?
You want me to guess what it is? Do I have to play this game?
Yeah.
Is it the grapefruit?
Nah.
Oh, is it the lemon lime? I don't actually remember what all's in the fridge.
Nah.
Strawberry?
Nah.
Did I get strawberry? Is it the ginger ale? Okay, I give up. What the hell is it?
It's the grapefruit, I lied.
You son of a gun. That was a long pause. I should have clocked that right away.
I'm gonna get food.
Okay, I just spilled all over myself. Can I have a napkin, please? Or yeah, there's tissues behind me. These. Anyway, I'd like to thank our not quite a sponsor, Yacht Club Soda of North Providence, Rhode Island. What?
Can I try it after you have a sip?
You could. Oh wait. No, you were even stickers. No, you cannot.
Oh.
I like how it's my soda has arrived and not my fiance has arrived. My fiance was here. I live with them. They're here all the time. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, save me a sip.
I'll save you a sip. I almost never finish these things before the end of the episode.
Okay.
That is actually not quite as potent as it has been in the past. It's not quite as flavorful. You're gonna get food?
Yeah.
What are you gonna get?
I don't know yet.
Okay, let me know when you figure out what you want.
I'll take a Taco Bell.
Never mind, then get Taco Bell.
Because I'm not getting anything.
I have mac and cheese.
Your house one too.
The internet says hello.
Hello, internet.
What'd you say? Yeah, I did chow down half a giant calzone today. Okay, so I love you. It's my favorite person in the world. Where's the best place to get assets for this? Everything here is on the download station. Every single thing I've used to make this route is either download station content or packaged content for DLC. I have Trainz Plus. I don't really know which is which. I apologize for that. But if you have like DLC routes, you'll pretty easily be able to get everything for this route, especially if you have a first class ticket. It'll go fairly quickly. So I did say today I would work on industries, because I want to see how things go. I need to not be afraid, right? I need to not be afraid to turn the route on. We tortured Mike Mercier at the club with the concert. Um, you sons of guns. Listen, do whatever as long as you don't make a mess, all right? You know, don't get it. Listen, it's gonna be difficult for you to get in trouble with me. Don't get in trouble with anybody else. I'm curious about 4 DLC for Trainz 22. Unfortunately, because I have Trainz Plus, I'm not a very good resource for DLC questions because I've never had to deal with any of that. Press enter by accident. That's not a complete thought. That's okay. I have to clear this out. I have to clear all this, all these out because I'm really bugged by looking at them. Mike was the one who let us in. Well, I'm sure he'll never make that mistake again. All right. Yeah, all this is tripe. These consists are great, but they're not doing anything for me, and they won't be doing anything for a while. Okay, I'm new to this series. Could I get some context on this route? Steel Beast, absolutely you can. Also, welcome. Does that mean you can hold multiplayer sessions on the route? Yes, that was my original intention when I was making this. So, there were 3 premises for the Tolbrent Peninsula, which I'm going to zoom out to show you everything that is built thus far. And maybe at the end I'll pull open the map, but I don't usually do that unless I have a good reason to, because it's kind of a pain. It's a big digression from actually working here in Trainz. But I do it occasionally, so if you end up being a regular, you'll see it eventually. 4 DLC packs are from the IHC team, and I don't know what they are used for. I think those... those are for the MPS route. Those are for the MPS route. I wouldn't worry about those. The MPS route is kind of broken. I haven't tried to log into it in a very long time. We're pretty infamous among the N3V staff for breaking MPS. Mossy Mug, you go with that YouTube channel. It's absolutely the topics you're aiming at sounds fantastic. I would watch every video. I love the channels that already do that kind of stuff, and since I know you all, so this is the Tolbrent Peninsula. This is a chunk of a forever project, is what I've termed it. I never intend to finish this route. The main lines are going to be hundreds of miles long. We're looking at UMR scale, but with much better detail and much wider sections. If you're familiar with the Ultra Mega route, you'll know that a lot of those sections are fairly spindly. They're 1 or 2 tiles long, or wide rather, and I have no qualms about adding... my rule is I have to add a full tile on either side of the track, at least. So you have some pretty open areas like this. This is a 1950s Americana-inspired route, but there is no specific region that it belongs to. It is freelanced in that regard. There are a few major railroads that each have their own quirks, and I am trying to chip away. Trying to slowly chip away. So, like I said, yeah, I did some off-camera mining. I think I should instead... What are you doing, East? No, I'm not going to come play Hearts of Iron with you, as much as I would love to. Trainz Simulator 2022, yeah. We've been innovators on how to build terrain for a long time around here. Terrain tracks, height bumping, all that jazz. For the record, this is the mining I did off camera. I added these two rusty rails here to make it like the switch was removed. I just thought it was a neat detail. East, I would love to come play Hearts of Iron with you right now, but sadly, this is my Thursday, and forever will be, hopefully. There are 3 principles that guided my creation of this route. Number 1 is, I want to play multiplayer, which means I'm doing everything off the DLS. If this isn't my Thursday, then why is it called? Alright, shut up. Oh my god. I want it to be multiplayer compatible, which means everything off the DLS. Number two is I want the scale to be realistic. So that means large swaths of track between towns and routes, or routes, between towns and yards. We're talking sections of 15 miles or more with nothing except for track and the scenery around it. And number three, unless I want to get shot, right? Number three, I want it to be fully automated. Now, that third point is not something that really matters anymore. Because Trainz is creating something called Living Railroad. And Living Railroad purports to be able to run the whole railroad by itself with no input. The locomotives will pick up cars and pick up commodities and take them where they need to go. So, excuse me. So, my whole automation project has sort of fallen off. I'd had quite a bit of automation work that was done already, and I ended up throwing it all in the garbage because it was unreliable, it lagged the game out, and yeah, there was no future in it, sadly. Now, Living Railroad still has a very long way to come. It can't handle passengers. It runs very simply. It can't really handle steam engines because I think it just doesn't know how to fire them, and also it doesn't know when to go get fuel and water, and not every locomotive is coded the same way. So that's kind of confounding anyway. But the proof of concept is there. And it's really, really fascinating to see what's possible, even with the current arrangement. Now, one of the things that you need to do is you need to have a robust system of industries and commodities, and have cars hanging around so that locomotives can come and pick them up, and you need to have locomotives hanging around so that they can go and pick stuff up. However, that was already something that we were planning on doing. And we have some things here in this shed. We have some things in our other shed. We have cars around at virtually every industry. And we also have, lots of industries that are programmed. So, for most of the route, this isn't really a problem. Now, part of me does want to go and dive in. Let me turn off these. Let me turn off these gradients so that it lags out a little bit less. I don't think that you know how to use turntables either, so that's kind of an issue. But these are things that we could expect to see corrected in the future, and not things that are hard limitations of the software. They are quite simply limitations of the current iteration of the software. So, with that in mind, we shouldn't really be too worried about stuff like this. They'll figure it out eventually. Now, something we do need to do is we need to standardize a whole lot of things, and there's a lot of route that needs another pass with things like naming the switch stands and also replacing them, because it does not make sense that these are automated switch stands in this yard here. And making sure all the industries are set up correctly, and also replacing the default industries. One of the things that I thought about early in Tollbrand was, oh yeah, the default industries, I definitely want to use them as much as I can. But in truth, they're a limitation currently because of the way that Living Railroad will handle an industry that has more than one pickup or drop-off track, but also because you can't control them as well with the new UI. And that's something I should have complained about when we went through all the suggestions last time. No source of logs. Well, that was a lie. Because there's like three sources of logs around here. The problem is you can't set these specifically. So, yeah. Now you can get logs up here for sure. This is the old style forestry. I'm less concerned about this, but I still probably should replace all of these with proper multiple industries that work in a controlled fashion. So that's part of my future project. And then I might be well to add a couple of things, but some things, like, I'm sort of excited to see how Living Railroad handles them, but other things I know that it's going to be a real headache because they really just don't know how to get around one another. The Trainz AI itself is still the same. The pathing needs to be upgraded. Like, the fact that the game can recognize a the fact that the game can recognize a is this actually plugged into this, or I guess it is, can recognize a sort of industry system is really cool. But unless it can apply that knowledge somehow, and yeah, this all of these industries that are not multiple industries need to be replaced with multiple industries so that I know what the hell I'm doing. That's that's the takeaway here, because I don't know what that coal mine is supposed to be doing. This, I know what it's supposed to be doing, because I can pull open this and I can see that, okay, it consumes every 6 hours, it consumes 1,500 grain. So 1,500 is a quarter of a carload, so every day it consumes 1 carload of grain. Or sorry, produces. Like, we know that works. Now, no industries require this grain at current, but in the future it should be able to figure that out when I do have a place for that to go. And I think that place is going to be somewhere here in Bellington, which is why we need industries for it. And the more I think about it, the more that I really do want this to be an industry-heavy episode, even though I know it bores people to death. So, I'll maybe pick that up a little bit later. Listen, sound off if you want me to make this an industry-heavy episode. And like a tweaking episode instead of a working on this downtown area episode. If not, then I'll continue working down here for at least another hour or so, and then I'll go and work on some industries. At least I'll get my ducks in a row with exactly what needs to be done with those industries. Because I haven't taken inventory in a very long time. Like, sure, I get that achievement every time I log into a new world in Minecraft, but I haven't done it in this game in a bit. So, you know, we've got to see. We've got to see what is sort of the best thing to do here. Now, I'm going to jump into Surveyor 2.0, as I do when I'm adjusting roads. I think it's very helpful for that, because you can do this. Just slide that right along there. Something I'm going to do for sure is connect something here, because we're going to need that. But I want to do this first. Alright. I've never tried Surveyor 2.0. It seems like it helps a lot. It has a learning cliff, like so many other things, but if I can play Noita, then I can do Surveyor 2.0. It is quite helpful in a lot of relatively niche situations, but some that are not so niche, and that has to do with making things parallel and copy-pasting. It makes all that much more much more comprehensible, if no other word suits. It makes it a lot easier, but it just makes it so that one can actually do it. Because before, I mean, it's not easy. Okay. I feel like the route building system in this game is really complicated. I've never been able to get comfortable with it. I don't disagree. It can absolutely be very comfortable, or very complicated, and it's taken me a long time to get to the place that I am. I mean, you can go back on this channel and see where I was, 13 years ago, with the TS12 rant video, which I think is, at least it was for a long time, the most viewed video on the channel. Until the algorithm grabbed a couple of the Terminus podcast episodes and just showed them to the world for some reason. Not like I'm complaining. But, you know, this is the result of me continuously route building since 2011. Well, really earlier than that. My first Trainz game was Trainz 2006. My first laptop I got when I was going into 6th grade, which would be not too long after Trainz 2006 came out, if I had to hazard a guess. And, how old are you? If I was 12, that would have been 2008 or so. But, now you've got my birth year. In seriousness, it's sort of like it's like learning to make anything. It's like learning to make anything at all. Yeah, I did smooth terrain to the track splines by hand. Not my finest moment, but it certainly taught me a great degree of patience. And that works for roads too. That one's right here. So, I'm always learning. Everyone should always be learning. It's like any other thing that you make, and I mean that. Building here in a model, or in a train sim, a model train sim by some reckonings, is the same as building a model railroad at home. And I know that's easy for me to say. I'm the one who does this, and don't get me wrong. There is a real amount of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into building a real practical model railroad. My arms don't tend to get tired when I'm doing this as much as, crawling under the Province Northern, and I haven't burned myself on solder working on Tolbrand, unlike things I've done working on real railroads. I haven't had to carry in drywall either. But it's not necessarily the physical labor that brings these things parity. It is the time investment, but it is the skills that you develop while you're doing this. It is the techniques that you learn, but also that you come up with as you go along. And I've never watched any formal route building tutorials. I've never watched any of the pros, the folks like Approach Medium or whatever that do this really seriously, that sit down and bang out a route that has incredible scenery, and then they put it up someplace where they can make money off of it, and rightfully so. The people that make DLC for Trainz, the people that work for N3V, the content creators that have become partners and that have had their routes turned into products. I'm not one of those people. Maybe I could be, really. I don't necessarily think so, but maybe I could be. So, I guess my point is that this is very much a learning experience, and everything you do will be a learning experience. You can go look at makers in the physical space and take their advice and go from there. People like Adam Savage, one of, I don't really call people my heroes, but if I were to start calling people my heroes, he would probably be one of them. Absolutely legendary dude, and not just because I, like many my age, had a complete infatuation with Mythbusters growing up. but also because he's just like legendarily chill. He's awesome. Um, what more is there to say about Adam Savage? And he provides incredible advice to people who are making stuff, you know? And so much of it is just don't worry about it, go for it, and then whatever your product is, you'll be able to look back and learn from it. My hero is a Greek sandwich wrap. Wouldn't that be a euro? Oh wait, no, sorry, that's a different thing. Don't get me started. Don't get me hungry. I just turned down food. Don't get me hungry. You know me. I will easily make this whole thing sidetracked about food, like in 10 seconds. Um, all right, let's go find a. Oh, that's the wrong button. Let's go find a monument. I think starting off on Surveyor 1, Surveyor 1 is to MicroStation as AutoCAD is to Surveyor 2, vice versa. And as someone who does CAD for a living, that makes sense. To most of you, that's just gibberish. What I'm saying is, Surveyor, classic Surveyor, is very much like playing with crayons. Drawing with crayons, I'll say. Not playing. I don't want it to sound demeaning. I use Surveyor 1 all the time. And there's nothing demeaning about it. But let me see if I have any cool monuments that I can use. That's huge. Can I put this maybe here then? Yeah, why not? Yeah, that helps. It's don't use yeah, okay. The Marines joke. The low hanging fruit. Not saying you're not deriding you for making it. I'm actually kind of upset I didn't think of it before you said it. No, the you know what I'm doing here. Whoa, that's wide. What I'm doing here in Surveyor 1 is rough, but not in a bad way. Not in a way that is bad. I don't mean it negatively. What I'm saying is, it is genuinely less precise. But that's okay. Starting off with Surveyor, regular classic Surveyor, is perfectly fine because it's less precise. Because you will make something, and it will not overwhelm you if you don't let it. Don't let it. It will not overwhelm you in the intricacies of building such a thing. Go through the menus. They're laid out in a very friendly fashion. And just see what all the buttons do. You know, read the tooltips. It's helpful. I should have done that a long time ago, and I should have just tried stuff. You know, if I had tried stuff, maybe I wouldn't have been raising the around to the track by hand, like a crazy person. Again, it taught me patience. But let's. No, okay, that's not gonna work. Throw down some track, make some switches, put down an industry, place down a train, and drive it around. And then go from there. You don't have to keep the same route forever, but also you don't have to go and throw away what you've done already if you find a new technique. It's okay to just sort of hang on to it and build around it and rebuild it. Playing trains for 10 years and I still raise the track individually in my routes. I mean, raising the track individually is great. There is no reason why you really shouldn't be doing that, especially if you're sort of keeping an eye on your gradients in the mini-map. That's a good way to hang on to that. The reason that, if I could speak against it, if I could give a counter, something else that is worth doing is doing the setting a gradient and building off of that. Now, a lot of this comes down to, are you building your terrain first or are you building your track first? I am a terrain-first person, but that is relatively rare. You don't need to build like that, and in fact, I think it makes it an awful lot harder. It does give you some different results in a way that I don't think is bad. I think is quite positive. But there's no reason that you have to do that. Now, when you're placing track, if I can, I'll just put this down here. You know, okay, so I have a piece of track. It's on the ground. And if I want to put a little gradient to it, I can adjust the spline point, and I can put a little gradient to it. Now, I could get into the difference between Surveyor 1 and Surveyor 2 here, but there's not really a reason to dig into that right now, only that you can manipulate it more finely and more precisely. But right now, we've created it. I'm going to have to turn gradients back on. We have created a gradient. That gradient is 0.3%. That is acceptable, and there's no reason not to be happy with this gradient. But if I want to continue this track on and keep a ruling grade, right, I could go and adjust things manually, and you would have little variations even if you were aiming for 0.3 every time, which isn't necessarily unrealistic. You're going to, as a railroad builder, you're going to sort of go with the flow of the terrain and the geography, and also sort of the Control M to open the minimap. There should also be a minimap button in here somewhere. No, I guess not. Oh no, there it is. Something else you can do instead is you can set a gradient after the fact. You can build all your pieces of rail like that, and then you can go into here and you can say, okay, I want 0.3%. Then you go to the end that's at the bottom of the grade here, and you click in the direction that you want to be up. And then you click again. Oh, you know what? 0.3 is less than the slope of this hillside here. Let me try that again. Let's just do 1% because I know that that's high enough. So, and we go up, and we go up, and then I click over here, and it will raise each one incrementally so that as you go along, each section is going to be more or less 1%. Pretty close, right? The other thing you can do, the third thing you can do in Surveyor Classic, is to turn this on before you start placing track, and then every piece of track that you place will have that gradient preset. Now, what might be the reasons to do something like this? Well, it could save you a lot of time. It could spare you sort of going through and adjusting stuff by hand. It could set a ruling grade for you without too much headache. But you don't have to do it like that. And if you're doing the track first, there's less of a reason to. Everyone says the tear in the Amtrak Crayola engine is because of the Marines. I didn't know that the yellow Crayola engine got messed up already. Or is it like a tear in the wrap? Like, is it an intentional tear, or is it something got messed up? Because if those things already got scuffed, that's kind of sad. Speaking of things that are scuffed, for those who may be watching that do not know, we have a website, theironhorseman.com. On that website, we have some things like Merger Mania, but we also have the Loco games and the trading cards for steam locomotives that you can buy that go with the Loco games. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up now is not just because it's a shameless plug and I want you to go to theironhorseman.com and check everything out, especially because I've been messing with the website lately. That doesn't have anything to do with it. In fact, this has everything to do with the fact that Walthers has declared war on me specifically. I am personally very upset. I don't know who they think they are. They're making trading cards now, too. For those who don't know, I got inspired to make trading cards because I saw Steam Towns and thought I can do better. And now everyone under the sun is making their own stupid trading cards when I will literally make them for them. I would love to. And they'll be way cooler because you can actually use them to play a game, Locomotive Versus, the game that we came up with. Long before we had trading cards, we had Locomotive Versus. And you know what? If that's how they're going to be, then that's how they're going to be. I'm going to war. I'm going to have to turn the trading card machine back on and restock the trading cards. And we're going to, we're going to have to figure all that out. Now, the problem, of course, is that I am getting married in a few months, and I have many, many things that I have to pay attention to that are not trading cards. But, this is as good a reason as any. Nobody's buying the Walters cards. Somebody will. People will. Nobody's buying the Walters cards yet. I mean, I do think it's disappointed. What was that, comrade? There's so many. What were you looking at up here? Did you see something up here? But yeah, right. The website does say welcome, comrades. The whole announcement Walters hyped up was so lame. Yeah, I know. Well, it's really goofy. I wasn't expecting. I don't really have any expectations these days. But I was certainly hoping for steam engines, right? Oh my god, that's enormous. I want to find a building fit back here. Let's just look up city stuff. Oops, city. Okay, thanks, East. Yeah, see, there are definitely folks that'll buy them because they go with actual model trains. And when I got to meet the scale trains people, I said, like, hey, if you ever want to do a custom release with things, I'll make trading cards for that. And of course, I never heard back to them because why would they respond to me? But still, oh shoot, this has a thing on the side here. I should flip that around like that. Yes, buy the true trading cards. I do need to spiff up the front page of the website again too, but there's a bunch of stuff on the website that I need to put work into. At any rate, yeah. So we're gonna, I have to turn the trading card machine back on. Absolutely. I have some folks that I know that can get me some pictures of stuff that I'm currently missing. And other than that, I just sort of have to be super persistent and figure all this out. I mean, the trading cards, the two batches that I was working on got stuck on hold because there were answers, like questions that I could not get the answers to right then. And I have to be really persistent going forward to get those answers and figure things out. Or I just need to sort of grin and bear it and just go with the information we have. The thing about history is, despite the fact that real things did actually happen, we are only looking at them through the lens of best guesses. What people happen to write down. And I feel like people get overly invested in maybe in the fact that the truth is ultimately unknowable in a lot of cases. We just sort of have to figure out what the best guess is and go from there. And I know that's and absolutely the people want 2-foot. One of the batches that's sort of waiting in the wings is to do one for the WWF. It's going to happen. It will happen. When exactly, I can't say, but it will happen. Probably next year, if not before the end of this year. It depends how quickly I get the trading card machine spun up and how much I actually get to do in between planning for the wedding, having a honeymoon, and going to Cleveland to see the Browns play in the Factory of Sadness. So, there's a lot on my plate. And that does not include this route right here. So, anyway, let's make a sand lot. The kids have got to play baseball somewhere. Alright, actually, I think I'll make this whole area, this dirt here. Like, maybe they're working on something, or maybe they will be soon. Let's fill this in. But yeah, so, we've got trading cards. They're making trading cards. Obviously, Walters has a little bit more reach than we do at the Iron Horseman. But, that doesn't mean we can't still sort of rally against them. The other problem is I don't really have a lot of stock right now, which is a problem. I a lot of stuff has been getting in the way of me spending all this time on the trading cards, and to that end, I've canceled a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to be doing, different brackets, or at least sort of pushed off indefinitely. Right? There's a locomotive versus bracket that's supposed to happen. There is there's Locodome stuff I want to do. There are test matches that I want to make and put on the website as like definitive. This is how this is how you're supposed to play the game. I need to get the digital stuff up there. Let's find a little restaurant. Oh wait, maybe a diner. Let's find a diner. Oh, this is cool. What is this? Oh, this is really cool. We got to use this somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere. Put this over there. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's do this, and then put a Waffle House in the right. When did Waffle House come into existence? When was the first Waffle House? Somebody look that up, because that's what I need to know if I'm going to drop a Waffle House in here. We learned that Dunkin' Donuts has been around for much longer than I think anyone here anticipated, and then like shortly after we learned that one of the oldest Dunkin' Donuts locations was closing. Waffle House 1955. Holy crap! We can put a Waffle House. 1855. Ye old. I can't remember. Remember during the Battle of Gettysburg when they stopped to get Waffle House. You know those memes where it's like looking back at Google Trends or whatever, and it's like, oh, they started saying yeet in 1653 for some reason, and it's it's that music, you know what I mean. Those memes have been circulating. Oh no, I don't want that. I want the grass. Give me the grass in the middle. Okay, so let's fill this out here. You know what? Let's get some fence, like some temporary chain link fence. How about this? Or like the wood and wire fence company fence. Like this is too nice. I need a hello, my love.
Hey.
What's up?
Not much.
You get some food?
Yeah.
Get Taco Bell?
No.
What'd you get?
Poke roast.
Oh, okay.
They were significantly cheaper than usual, so.
Pokey Bros. Got it. What? This feels like, yeah, there we go. This is some temporary fencing.
I also got a drink. I got this pineapple. It's called a Aloha Made pineapple orange.
Okay.
It's like nectar, it says.
It's nectar. Are you a bee now? You like jazz? Bill died of dysentery, but at least the rest of us made it to Waffle House. Yeah, what's amazing is, when they were carrying the Waffle House supplies across the newly completed Transcontinental Railroad. Where is the westernmost Waffle House? Is there Waffle House in California? This is it's getting darker and darker in here. My hand is wet from the condensation on the can, and I can't turn my lamp on. Should open a Waffle House in the old Hooters on Airport Road. Honestly, I'm here for that. They absolutely should do that. Anything with that Hooters. Well, honestly, seriously, what they should do... Here's Aloha Pineapple Orange. What they should do with that Hooters is demolish it. Arizona is the westernmost? That's close enough. What they should do with that Hooters, and also everything in the immediate area, is demolish it because you really should not have buildings that close to the end of an airport runway. Um, that's why the entire neighborhood on the other end is gone, because you're not supposed to do that. Um, but of course, TF Green Airport sort of predates all these codes that say, hey, maybe we shouldn't put buildings right against the end of airport runways. Um, Femboy Hooters there instead. Uh, all right. Reopen the Hooters. Didn't Hooters just file for bankruptcy? I'm not sure they're. I'm not sure how much longer we're gonna have open Hooters. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not even really dissing the premise. The food is not good. Um, I don't think the world will be missing much with the lack of Hooters. It was pretty titillating in an era where the only time you'd see anything that racy, aside from on TV at 1 in the morning, would be a magazine that you had to specifically seek out. Um, some great chili. You can get great chili elsewhere. Uh, you can. I mean, well, homemade stuff is a different ball game. I don't disagree with it. Like there are very few things that I will take a restaurant version over homemade. You know, the only things that I'm objectively going to take a restaurant version over homemade is things that are like like where the quality limit is relatively low. And that's not really me being mean. I'm not trying to be mean, but like there are some foods that are always all right, you know, but to make them at home is an outsized amount of effort for a relatively small payoff. I think one of those things is wings. Like I don't think it's worth ever making chicken wings at home. And I'm not much of a chef, so maybe I'm way off base there. But like, I'll just go to a place for wings, you know, and I don't think that's that hard or controversial. Um, One or day our grandchildren will restore Hooters and run it on the main line. What? We're gonna put the Hooters on the main line and just let insert big steam locomotive of your choice, just like straight through it like that one Buster Keaton film, right? Um, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. 4014 will power the Hooters train. Actually, isn't there a photo of Hooters girls sitting on the running board or like the pilot of uh you don't even mention that quadruplex thing. Don't mention that Belgian thing to me. I've spent too much time with it. Too much time figuring those numbers out. Um, yeah, but on 3985, like Hooters girls sitting on the running boards, it used to be an emoji in the Discord. It was for a long time. I've been trying to figure out what to put here. Um, and I got it because I got rid of it because it was well, we voted to get rid of it because it was like taking up space. I was trying to adhere to the limit of what we're sort of able to have, and uh, we were going to go over the limit. Then we went over the limit anyway, and we need to do like a purge. Um, and there are some ones that I want to get rid of because they're relevant to server members that are no longer server members. Uh, but still, we're over the limit. We need to get rid of some things. There are a couple things we could definitely use as stickers or emoji, more like the thing that got posted earlier of the Thomas face. What's everyone's opinion on Union Pacific wanting to purchase NS? I feel like so one of our fellow server members said it feels like this is inevitable, or it feels like this has been inevitable, or it's basically inevitable, and I can't really disagree with that sentiment. I don't think it's wrong per se. Uh, you know, Inevitable is a strong word, but ever since the last round of mega mergers, or ever since the mergers really began, having a transcontinental merger or one great big role in railroad for the country, excluding sort of the obvious answer to that question, which is nationalization. Uh, I I do I can't really disagree that this was kind of bound to happen eventually. Will it be something that they can get away with actually doing if they propose it? Probably not. But right now, kind of who knows? When you see the news about the EPA apparently conspiring uh, with Norfolk Southern, it's like these humongous railroads have always had uh, a huge amount of sway. Whoa. With the U.S. government because the government grew up around the railroads, and this is a power plant, um, and sort of to that end, like sure, some things got shut down, like SPSF didn't happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things are things have changed and the major railroads really have their hooks into the industries that really should be uh, the ones that are smacking them over the head when they do something stupid. Uh, and stupid is a really soft word for what happened at East Palestine. Um, it's easy enough to sort of look at uh, Amtrak's track record and know that the law says that Amtrak has to be given priority, and know that basically nobody acknowledges that. None of the major railroads acknowledge that, and the minor ones don't really either. Uh, and no one prosecutes that. It's like that's something that the FRA should be diving in on, and like the FRA and Amtrak should be making money hand over fist with fines, but the political capital within those organizations to go and uh, to go and stir the pot like that just isn't there. Amtrak's sort of daily struggle is just continuing to exist, right? And there is not much that they necessarily, I would imagine, feel like doing beyond that unless it really benefits them in the long run. And I think we saw that when Amtrak was fighting to get the Gulf Coast service. And they sort of like raked CSX over the coals. And I mean, I can believe it that CSX is already in hot water for anything. Again, the railroads are constantly in hot water. It's just a question of will anything ever come of it. They are so big and powerful that it's almost unthinkable. USPS does not have a monopoly. I mean, I'm sure there's some truth to that story, but USPS doesn't have a monopoly, legal monopoly or otherwise. You can send things through other companies. It's just way more expensive. I don't think there's anything that outlaws sending a letter through the UPS, but UPS would never do that because there's no money in it. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a kernel of truth to that story somewhere. I'd love to look into it, and I might. But the thing with the Postal Service is you do not mess with the Postal Service. And the other thing with the Postal Service is their very existence is so hugely important that I would not want to mess with the Postal Service. USPS is a public service while others are private companies, and that is very true. And it basically means that, we have the power over USPS to sort of, oh shoot, these have no back, to ensure that they will service the entirety of the United States. It's like if you look at, and I know this is probably preaching to the choir, but it's like if the USPS were to cease to exist tomorrow, People that are way out in the grapes would have a real hell of a time getting packages. Their only options would be hideously expensive. And sure, USPS, the Postal Service, isn't always very cheap, but it is almost always the very cheapest thing available by quite a margin. And it's universally available. You know, that's the thing that sets it apart. And also, don't read into reports of the Postal Service losing a bunch of money very much. They were recently, in the last decade or so, required to fund the next 75 years of pensions out of their current budget. That's not something that happens with any other industry for any reason. Some industries are barely funding the pensions that they have to pay now, much less the pensions that they might have to pay in 75 years. Imagine having to store away enough money. Imagine having to squirrel away enough cash that you would have the cash on hand to pay the pension of an employee who isn't even born yet. Now that's some ridiculousness. Before that, Postal Service was doing just fine in terms of cash flow. So, all that stuff it's not exactly blown out of proportion, but you might not know why they're losing so much money. And it isn't because they're somehow struggling to pay the delivery delivery bills. Ooh, what is that? I just saw something really neat. Ooh, city sculpture. I wanted to put this in this kind of park. Holy moly! That's way taller! Mike Evans told me the EPA went after Pan Am when they were still around Guilford for dumping oil into forests around New England, so they became Pan Am so the EPA couldn't find them for the oil dumping. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, it sounds like one of those stories with a kernel of truth in it somewhere. But, oh boy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Just sink into the ground a bit. I honestly kind of like the height. Although, you are absolutely right. You could just do this, right? You could do that, and it would still be a perfectly, like, cromulent statue. I might actually do that. That does look really good. Yeah, exactly. It would be wild, but it would not be surprising. Pan Am was such a terrible railroad. I mean, they were our railroad. Don't get me wrong. I love Pan Am, and I don't really like Guilford. I know they're basically one of the same, but I'm not. No, East. But like, I don't like Guilford because they were the entity that deleted the Boston and Maine. But I do like Pan Am because in the modern era, they were New England's railroad. They were absolutely terrible in like plenty of ways, but they were our terrible railroad. So I can't hate them that much, even though they absolutely deserve ridicule because of that story, which again I can absolutely believe, even if it is not completely true. Having seen firsthand some of Pan Am's infrastructure, they were not ones to give a damn. Just saying it like that. They were absolutely ones to not give a damn. Their railroad crossings and track was the worst track I've ever seen in my entire life on the Hillsborough branch. And honestly, that might include the, quote, interpretive track work at the sawmill in Louisiana where they don't even have a train. Where they have a little rail bus that just, like, knocks its way down the line. It is, like, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like, you're going to have to take my word for it. Or you can go on Google Street View and check out the Hillsborough branch in southern New Hampshire. But I'm not sure Street View would do it justice. And also, CSX has poured quite a bit of money into that branch line and, most of the Pan Am system because it desperately needed it since the death of Pan Am. But still, I'm talking about Pan Am as it was. Let us remember it as it was. An absolute catastrophe day in and day out. What a wonderful railroad. It's the way life's meant to be. Does anyone here have a favorite local disaster of a railroad? I just want to put that out there. Because some people have their short lines and they're actually kind of decent at what they do. The Florida East Coast, despite Brightline killing a civilian every 2 weeks or so, which implies that there are non-civilians, but you know what I mean. The Florida East Coast Railroad is doing pretty good for what it is. And there are a lot of local short lines as everything that's owned by G&W, which is usually pretty competent. The RGS. I don't think the Penn Central counts as a short line, but I'll take the RGS. They're not doing much these days. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They were both such disasters that they're now both dead. Well, see, funny you say that. Pandemonium American. It could. So yeah, I don't. Well, the thing about the railroads being dead now, it doesn't really tell you much because, all but one Class 1 filed for bankruptcy at some point in its life. At least before, pre-Penn Central. Or, pre the modern era, I guess you could say. Because I don't think any of the big four that are currently around have filed. Well, I mean, I guess Union Pacific is still the same railroad. But you know what I mean. Yeah, the CB&Q is the survivor. Never went bankrupt. And so they've got that going for them, right? The Q was a good railroad. The Q had the Colorado and Southern, the most overpowered rail. The railroad's so overpowered that in the course of Merger Mania, it genuinely has committed mitosis. I'm going to get rid of the entire curb on this side. Alright, my local disaster railroad is no longer the disaster. Oh, the former Napoleon Defiance and Western. That's fantastic. I've heard the name. I don't know a single thing about them, but I do know the name. Didn't the UP own the CNS at some point? I don't know. I know the Q owned the CNS. I don't know about the Union Pacific. You need to look at that. You need to look into that. I am not the scholar of railroad history that I wish I was. Oh shoot. Despite spending an inordinate amount of time sifting through railroad history for Merger Mania to sort of see what railroad history I can absolutely butcher, like I'm out on Jagal, but shoot, now that's not going to work. I want to lower this by the tiniest amount. Things got a little crazy out west, yeah. Get two local shorelines, Buckingham Branch and Shenandoah Valley. They're pretty good. Buckingham Branch, yeah. Buckingham Branch is one that I've heard about and I would love to visit. What is the rail fanning like at Buckingham Branch? Outside of 611, because 611 always draws a crowd. You know how it is. I've had the pleasure of riding behind 611 3 separate times, but they were all at Strasburg, so some people might not count that. Honestly, though, put the gatekeeping aside, put 611 on your FOMA resume, and enjoy the fact that 611 was out there giving $20 rides for multiple years, because that is something that you do not see with those big those big engines. They were auctioning off, right? They were auctioning off big boy cab rides for thousands of dollars. And of course, I didn't get a cab ride at Strasburg, but still, these big steam engines that come out, about as often as Santa Claus, uh, they are not renowned for, uh, they're not renowned for having affordable ticket prices. I think the biggest locomotive you can ride behind affordably is probably 1309. And I say biggest, I mean 2102, and by affordably, I'm using that term loosely. I'm talking about like $100, right? Like the 2102 tickets are about $100. Um, the the tickets on the Western Maryland, I don't know how expensive they are. I have not been there, although I have driven by it. Um, Drove by it on the way to West Virginia. The size to ticket cost ratio. Honestly, that's a really fun idea. Yeah, how much does it cost to ride behind the locomotive versus how much does the locomotive? What is your total locomotive weight, engine and tender? Um, Break out the trading cards. No, but seriously, how much is a regular ticket on the Western Maryland? That I kind of want to know. I'll have to know it at some point in the future. I know that a lot of these organizations are they've sort of settled around $100 price point. When it's about the same amount of money to ride behind 2102 as it is to go up Mount Washington, you know that they've sort of found a happy place. Same thing with the Durango and Silverton. This is looking fairly competent. I like this. Hi, Bankman Cat. Was that beer? No, it was not beer. This is our not a sponsor Yacht Club soda of North Providence, Rhode Island. That's something I'd love to do for a horseman trip. Honestly, I'll do that for the Big E. Maybe I'll get a 12 pack for the people who come to the Big E. A cab ride at the DNS is the same price as getting to run the 3025, which I personally find insane. Well, question: how long do those how do those experiences compare in terms of length, in terms of duration throughout the day? I know that 3025 you do like a class first, right? And then a cab ride in, okay, you get to run for 2 hours. That's pretty impressive. That's quite a while. A cab ride on the DNS. The DNS is a very long railroad. Do they like kick you off at some point? They say that you get to Rockwood and they say, all right, get off, go sit back and coach. For $85, you get to drive the NASA 2 for 2 hours. That's cool. I'd love to do that one of these days. I have never gotten behind the controls. I've never gotten behind the throttle of a full-size steam locomotive, or full-size locomotive in general. S2 is not. S2 is not that S2. But I sure would like to. Free cab rides at the 611 1218 in the 80s because his dad was the Williamson, West Virginia yardmaster. That's really cool. Hey, it's who you know, right? Cab for the direction of travel of your choice. That is a long cab ride. That is, wow. And you know what? It's still a lot of money. Like, I absolutely agree that is a big chunk of change just to have a special seat. But that's a lot of sitting in the cab. That's a lot of annoying the hell out of the people that are actually trying to do their jobs. And no, I know we're annoying the hell out of them. I know we are. There are no two ways about that. Full overalls and stuff. That's actually kind of cool. I mean, a good outfit is worth a chunk of change, right? Yeah, it's on the Valley Railroad they got BYOO, right? Bring your own overalls. Okay. Okay. So also East, it is a grapefruit flavored soda, which this one's actually pretty light on the grapefruit. I'm not very impressed by it, but I do like them. I do like the grapefruit flavor. Um, what are these crowns? These crowns are for the people that are chatting the most. I did not turn them on; they just appeared one day. Um, oh, East likes the sound of the grapefruit soda. You got to try one; they're pretty good. Um, I'm a sucker for grapefruit. I'm gonna tell my childhood story again. My mom used to get a grapefruit, slice it in half, sprinkle sugar on it, and that was breakfast. Um, I would have half, and she would have half, and that's like a weird childhood memory that stuck with me, and it's made grapefruit a very like, oh man, isn't that nice? Um, anyway, wedding idea. D1 Yapper Squad. That's fantastic. Yeah, you guys are killing it out there. This is filling out. Once I realized that half of the city is parking lots, this has gotten so much easier. Um, why do I have 8 pings? Oh, never mind. Uh, never mind. Um, just gonna check the Tolbrum pin. There's still a thread to see if anything's going over there. Yeah, the American urbanization, the like the parking lotification of the world. This is, and even this is pretty like mediocre, right? And maybe I should pull open a map of Providence to sort of to make a comparison off of, but I don't want to distract myself at this point. Um, this block is going to be the rest of this is going to be parking lot pretty much. Like this right back here is parking lot for sure. Um, and there doesn't necessarily need to be a rhyme or reason because there isn't necessarily a rhyme or reason for what buildings survived parking lotification. You know, uh, it's just yeah, either they did or they didn't. Um, there's just a lot of parking lots. There's going to be a lot of parking lots. Um, okay, let's put this down over here. Yeah, I need to make a new thumbnail for these streams to sort of catch people's eyes a little bit better in the Trainz Discord. I think like everyone in the Horseman Discord pretty much knows what it means when I post a link to my own stream in the in the announcements channel. You know, the channel that only myself and the other administrator account can post in. Uh, but when I just post route building stream live now with no context, uh, that's not very helpful. I could put I could put a uh, I could put a whatchamacallit. I could put a longer description in there, but nobody's gonna read that. I just want them to know that I'm building a route and that I'm streaming now. Oh, see, Steel Beast, I had assumed you came from there because I didn't recognize you. Let's mark this out here. Okay. If I had more, if I had more uh, packs or more different batches, I would say, hey, just vote on a reprint batch in retaliation for Walters, right? Um, oh, nerd of the end. Okay, yeah. So you are new, but I recognize you. I recognize you with that caveat. So thank you for letting me connect the dots. Put a name to the name, as it were. Okay. So slight problem. I will be able to put curb cuts to get into these parking lots from the back, but not from the front, because of the way that because of the weird holes in the Yarnish road system. I keep clicking on the wrong thing. There we go. Uh, there are some roads that just don't have single sidewalk versions, and that's weird. And I should pester Mason to make them. Uh, all right. Uh, I need a 30-foot one with. There we go. I got it right for once. Let's put this there. Yeah, we'll make some curb cuts. I haven't really done curb cuts like this since the first town, but I think when it comes to parking lots, it's worth doing. Okay, there we go. And next up is right here. Straighten that out. And then another one, and straighten that out. I have to straighten it out in between every single one because otherwise it would come unstraightened. These spline points would no longer be in a line like they're supposed to be. I think I will put a building right here, though. The cityscape houses are super low poly. They're not worth it. Oh, wow, look at these. That's kind of cool. What is with the houses inside? This must be a really well-planned neighborhood right there. But, you know, it's Staten Island. I'm not touching it. Okay. Can you fit? Ooh, this is almost perfect. Oh my god, it's got a Burma Shave ad on the side of it? That's wonderful. That makes me so happy. The best place to take a leak. Okay, that's fantastic too. Okay, so let me also put in a strip of gravel along the back here to connect these two roads. And then we're going to have to put in some, well, gravel back there, but also some fencing, I think, between these two. Yeah, like that. And then that's, yeah, alright. Alright, so let's try to find another fence. I want one that is opaque. I want like a steel fence of some kind. Yeah, there we go. Corrugated fence. Yeah, we'll break that up like that, and you know what, we will make this a little bigger. Just to encroach on the fence a little bit more, and it's okay if this goes over. It makes more sense that this would than that the gravel would. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting happy with the way this is turning out. We're absolutely not working in the block that we should be working in. We're not in the triangle that we should be. But when inspiration strikes, don't let it go. Okay. I've been playing a bunch of Kerbal Space Program lately, and by lately I mean last night and then about an hour before I started this. It's been cool getting back into it. I am not very confident. Hello, Mew. I'm not very confident, but I am getting my rocket boosters back up under me. I am having a half-decent time figuring all that out again. You know what I think has got me? I think what's got me is the fact that I just really didn't want to do suburbs anymore, and the urban area is really calling to me a lot more, which is nice. Be confident of the fact that I make better trading cards than Walthers. Well, they are doing something that people have clamored for, which is like rolling stock, but they're not. Are they really trading cards if you always know what you're getting in a pack? You know, I feel like that's a foundational piece of trading cards. That you don't have a good reason to trade if they're not sort of one limited edition and B sort of random. You know, it's like what are you trading for? What's the point? So you know, like I said, turning the trading card machine back on. Maybe over this weekend, just sort of seeing where everything stands, making some marching orders. The folks that help me out are probably going to be tapped for this or that. Wake up, Tyler. And I also do need a new photo editor, and this is not a paid position, so I can't offer anything except for maybe a pack of trading cards. But even then, I don't make enough of them to hand them out as much as I would like to. But I need I need someone who is better at doing that than me, because we no longer have one. And having me go back to doing it is not the play. Like I can brighten something up, but I cannot make a photo that looks not good look good, and that is the real challenge. Um, do I provide ES&D qualified packing peanuts? I suppose that could theoretically be arranged. Um, and also, I don't really want to be paying someone in trading cards, because plenty of the people who help me out really don't have an interest in buying any. So I could give an employee discount. That would be something to do. I need a building that's long but thin. Oh, here we go. I thought this had things on one side. It's like the Frisky Fries building downtown. Don't get excited. It's just a building where Frisky Fries is. Um, it's not like the Frisky Fry Scraper or anything like that. Um, do I get an employee discount? No one gets an employee discount yet. I'm saying that maybe that could be a thing. Uh, we'll see after this one. I don't think it's out of the question. On a serious note, I don't think it's out of the question. I think it could be done. Um, I haven't messed around with discount codes too much. I'm still learning stuff. Okay. When you put it down as tarmac, it doesn't look very good, but when you go back over it with the parking lines, then it starts to look a whole lot better. And I have to remember that the closer I get to the track, the more detail I should probably be paying attention to detail, because that's the area that's going to be looked at more. Okay. Send a bad picture to those who look interesting and see you make it look the best. I mean, that's actually not a bad idea. Uh, I don't think I'm gonna have that many people clamoring over the photographer of the like most thankless part, except for the people who really like doing it. In which case, I can make a judgment based on that. Or honestly, I could just sort of split it up and send it to each person. But that's pretty reasonable as a way to do sort of a competition, right? Um, I just the labor market is thin enough when it comes to volunteer work for something like this, um, that I will take anything I can get. I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. All right. So I did not leave enough space to get around these parking spaces. Yeah, that ought to do. Okay. Yeah, the parking lines, they definitely make the difference. They absolutely make the difference. Um, in terms of the making the feeling right. Some might say it's more than a feeling. Okay. I'm also getting a little bit sloppy with these. That's less than ideal. And because having this all tarmac doesn't really make sense, I'll just put some grass up front. Funny Boston reference indeed. Okay. This is the business district, I guess. And then there's that over there. This is looking pretty good. I quite like this. I think we're going to be making it a lot better when we have foliage in the mix, but historical photos for my characters and made them into near emojis. Oh, nerd emojis. That's kind of funny. Gloria and I took what you might call a historical photo last weekend. We got a tintype photo done. Those are about as old as Waffle House, if Train Street is to be believed. But in truth, yeah, they are a mid-19th century invention, if I recall correctly. And that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. It cost a bit of money, but it is sort of a really niche skill to be able to do that. So I'm not really complaining. Took fursuit photos last weekend. Now we need to combine this. We need to get fursuit photo tintype emoji. But I don't have a fursuit, but I do have a furry friend who is definitely going to come up with us for the next time we get our tintype done. Which we may be married by then. It may be next year because he's there once a month. They're in photo dump if I want to take a look. I will take a look when we're a little bit wrapped up. I've been trying not to distract myself with that. At the open house this year, I should play Boston Finals instead of Christmas Finals. I can do both. I will do what I did last time and play Christmas until we're tired of it, and then whip out the Boston album instead of the Fleetwood Mac album I brought last time. That would be fun. I've got the first two albums, the best ones. Okay. Just the good. Yeah, I mean, Third Stage has some good stuff. They all have some good stuff. They all have some good stuff. But Boston and Don't Look Back are the absolute classics. I mean, the self-titled album, best debut rock album of all time. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got to bring my Steve Smith one too. Especially if Joan comes around, because I had my Steve Smith shirt on last time I went to a Grange meeting, and she was like, "Oh, I need to get one of those." And I was like, "Go see them play. They still go around. They're still around." I haven't seen them play in a hot minute. I need to get down the beach when they're playing with the Ocean Mist. Maybe that's what I should target my beach trip around. Okay. No, seriously, it is the best selling debut rock album in history. At least it was until maybe recently. I don't know. Boston, I'm biased because Boston is my favorite band, so I think it is the best. But statistically, it's the best. Okay. I gotta stop going down this way. This has been fun, but I'm getting too far from the area that I'm supposed to be working on. I need to put like a wall or a fence around this. Oh yeah, get time. I think you might, if you don't want like an original pressing, you may well be able to get a vinyl of time um at like FYE or something. Yeah, go to the Providence Place Mall. There's record stores in there. Babe, what's the record store in the mall? The record store that I get us both records from. Newbury Comics. There we go. Um, Pepper Coyote myself. Yeah, if you know, you know. I do not. Um, let's just bring this along here. Let's try to keep it parallel with the road. It'd be kind of nice if we had the tooltip for length and direction when we're doing this as well. Okay. Excuse me. An urban greenhouse that fits perfectly in here, almost. Almost! Almost! Rats. Right now, the two best-selling debut albums are Linkin Park Hybrid Theory and Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, both at 30 million copies. Interesting. Could I fit this up against the building? It would not make sense, but yeah, this is too big. Oh, we have a one size one. There we go. I'll have to dig into that later because that's what I had always heard, and I'm surprised that it's not. Looks like Boston's debut album is at 20 million. Okay. I wonder where I was led astray. Maybe it was the best-selling like immediately after it came out or something, and the other ones have held on longer. Who knows? I didn't realize those two were their. I didn't realize those two were their first albums. I don't know why. I always expect, for most bands, I feel like it takes them an album or two to really get their feet under them, and their first stuff isn't necessarily their best stuff. Like their most well known and recognizable stuff. But then again, I mean, I suppose I couldn't name a song off of Hybrid Theory. I don't know what's on it. But I bet you if you rattled off some song names to me, I might know. Or, I might recognize some of them. On the flip side, Appetite for Destruction is quite familiar, even if I couldn't name the songs on it. I at least recognize the name of the album. Yeah, in the end. And yeah, Transport Fever did post a new video today. I haven't looked at it yet because honestly, I'm kind of hesitant about digging into a new Transport Fever when I didn't even really dig into Transport Fever 2. There's just something about those tycoon games that I don't know why, I can't play them anymore now that I've played OpenTTD, and now that I've really bent the hell out of OpenTTD. I have molded Transport Tycoon into the game that I've always wanted to play, and the modern additions to that genre can't compete because they haven't had 30 extra years of development. OpenTTD is Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It is an open source version of the original Transport Tycoon game. I believe it was the original, at least a very early recognizable one, and it is so infinitely moddable these days that it's insane to think like of a vanilla game like it. It is a game that has thoroughly withstood the test of time because it's 30 years on and people are still playing it, and when it's effectively just a modern port of the original with some nice things tacked onto it and a really robust like content delivery system if you want mods. Oh, excuse me. I want to put some houses here. There is a thread for it under gaming, but it's a little dormant right now because we're not currently running a server. I probably won't spring for another one for a little while, partially because there are some things that I just put on the wedding registry that I am uh, like excited to that I think might be important for the longevity of the new server. Particularly a backup battery, because I'm really tired of the power going out for half a second and then having to go reboot the OpenTTD server. It's a real pain in the neck. Um, it's an outsized amount of pain in the neck. I want it to just work smoothly. I want to turn it on and leave it for 3 months, and not fiddle with it. But also, I need to fiddle with it some more because I need to update some mods, change some settings, remove a couple things, add a couple things. I really want to be able to just sort of turn it on and call it good every time, and that isn't a thing that is feasible for me to do right now because it needs a little bit of attention throughout its lifetime. That's not fine. That's not fine for me when I'm trying to have something that is very, very passive and just sort of vibes in the background of the server that people can talk about and interact with as much as they want to without me having to interact with it in any capacity. Um, that's where I'm at with that. Oh, what is this? It's a very yellow house. Alright, let's find some more stuff in here. Looks like your old house, is that so? That's neat. Um, it's a cool house. Uh, I know where that house is. Is that so? It's on Yellow Brick Road. Okay, thank you. You know what I need? I need a spline of the Sears bungalow houses. That's what I need. Um, Profound me. Alright. Rapidly approaching your location. Signal bungalow. I got to go in a couple of signal bungalows. Or well, I got to go in like the traffic light equivalent. Oh no, sorry. No, they were not traffic lights. I forget. I am a traffic engineer, but sometimes I do get to play with trains when I'm very good and I eat all my vegetables. Um, Sometimes I get to play with trains, and I did get to go and schputz around by the railroad tracks and stick my head in some signal bungalows, and that was really neat. Good night, Mossy Mug. Okay. Every time I hear Sears, I think of the dude who made the YouTube video of him quitting his job at Sears. Oh boy. The internet leaves an impression. Um, that's why. You can't forget. Everything you put out on the internet is going to be there basically forever. You put something out there, you have no control over it, and that's the way life is. Um, I saw a closed Sears at my local mall, and it looks like the back rooms. Yeah, that's what a closed Sears looks like. Um, and it's a lot easier to find a closed Sears these days than it is to find an open Sears. Although I did manage to get somebody to come to my house from Sears to fix an appliance, which I wasn't sure was a thing that you could do anymore. Um, he was not able to fix the appliance, partially because of that work done by people who are not certified that I mentioned earlier. I really need a... There it is. No, this is pavement slabs. Where's my concrete driveway? Oh, there it is. They turned the nearest Sears into a Spirit Halloween. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds about right. When does Spirit Halloween open? for the season. It's got to be soon, right? If they're not open already. It's when 611 starts operating. That's how you know. That's how you know that Halloween is coming, when 611 comes out to play. The spooky locomotive. Spookomotive. What's a spooky locomotive, for real? Anything that's been derelict. Half the damn Kepner collection. I've got some bunch of crunch here I think I'm going to tear into because I kind of need it. I love Bunch of Crunch. I unreasonably love Bunch of Crunch. So, okay. What I want is this gravel road here. I went broke at Essex buying the 50th boxcars. How was the Essex trip, by the way? It looks like you guys had a great time. I would have loved to make it if I wasn't, working. Okay. Alright, so there's that. We got some larger yards at this end. Grand total of 8 remaining Sears left in the US. Visit while you can. Thank you, yo, it's Chris. And welcome to the stream on this fine evening. Only went 20 over during the chase. Listen, that area is rife with needing to do beans. Like, I want to say, like, tisk tisk, but I am certainly not better when it comes to following Essex around. Or at least I haven't been in the past. I might be better now. I have really, gotten the let out trying to get to spot after spot after spot. These days, especially because I only go during Christmas when they're running 30,000 trains an hour, I really haven't bothered to chase so much as I'll just sort of meander over to the next spot when I get bored of the one I'm currently in. Or when someone needs to go to the bathroom, or when someone needs to, is hungry and needs food or snacks, or, what noise is the stupid traffic light that's controlled by the train crossing? Well, that my friend, is a skill issue. That it's got to be like that, you see. That kind of stuff is exactly why I got to go out and play with trains. Go look at trains the other day. I got to go look at traffic lights and railroad crossings and all that jazz tied in together. So I'm sorry to tell you that your hatred is irrational and it needs to be that way. But I get it. I get it. It really ruins a good pace, David Attenborough voice. The spirit Halloweens are an elusive creature that can only be seen for select months of the year. They usually find a host in dead stores and disappear as fast as they appear. Trainz, do you need to be more chill? Okay. Be more chill around my sacred baby, the traffic light signal controller. Alright, there we go. We'll hem this in with grass. And then I did say I wanted to work on some industries, so we need to figure out a couple of things. One is, how many carloads of timber do we want to take out of the forestry, and then how many cars of lumber do we want to take out of the lumber mill, and go from there. Got to chase a train for the first time in May at the EBT. Really, you hadn't chased a train before. So let me get this straight. You got behind the throttle of a steam locomotive before you ever chased a train. If that's true, that's wild. It's really cool, though. I mean, and I absolutely believe you, because chasing a train takes the right circumstances. It takes the right geography, if nothing else, but also sort of the right desire. Because you can just as easily go and ride the thing and get a perfectly wonderful experience and not have chased it at all. I have a friend in particular who, when we were all down in Pennsylvania for the 2102, he chased. He chased instead of joining us all on the train. And I was like, oh man, like I really wish I could have shared all this, all this fun time with you. But I definitely get it. You're not a rider. You're more of a chaser. Uh, it's easy with the East Broad Top, with how the road follows the tracks. I mean, I suppose so. Some of us aren't good runners. Maybe. I love you. What you got over there? Reese's Pieces. Okay. No. I am also eating candy. I'm not judging you. Fight me. Most bipolar day at Essex. Pouring to overcast, the hot as balls. Yeah, I mean, we didn't get the rain, which is sort of a blessing in disguise, but also I would have loved it. Even to just break the temperature for a little while. I'd go stand out in that rain. Honest to goodness. Um, every place on the planet has the most unpredictable weather, except for Mount Washington, which actually wins this fight. Most unpredictable weather and the worst drivers are in every place on Earth, according to the people who live in those places. Alright, let's do that. And then let's build this fence right up against this person's house because we're a jerk. You know what I want? I want a garage. For this. Well, that's kind of cool. This is also cool. I've used that before, though. Some of these are cool. It's the house with a mother-in-law suite. But this wouldn't be here. It would have been demolished by the thing, unless it was built much later, which I could see happening. So let's put this here. Wish Nevada Northern would clarify just how much train you're pulling when it comes to be the steam engineer experience. I don't know what my first train chase was. It was probably at Essex. But my most memorable chase was definitely up by the Hoosick Tunnel. I was up there with this same friend who chases and doesn't ride trains. And we had waited quite a while. Well, up until recently, and they might still be there, but not for much longer. There were two fairly reliable trains that came through the Hoosick Tunnel. And they came in the evening, and one was 22K, and when the other one was 23K. They were intermodal trains, single stack, because you can't fit double stacks through the Hoosick Tunnel, and also auto racks, which barely clear, but they fit. These trains would come through in the evening, and you could track their progress pretty well because they came off and onto NS rails at the west end of the railroad. It was fairly reliable service. I forgot to put a garage. I got distracted. I got distracted with that house there. Let's just put this right there. Yeah, there we go. And then give me this. Oh wait, I don't need to grab that. I just need to extend it. So anyhow, we were we were waiting for this train. We waited quite a while. It's one of those things where it's fairly regular if you wait for it. You sort of know the earliest time it'll show up, but you might be sitting around for a little while if it ends up, being delayed. They, again, all single stack containers, so they might be double stacks at some point, and they have to separate them out, which is a huge amount of time and effort. So we're waiting, and my favorite thing in rail fanning, period, is being at the east end of the Hoosick Tunnel after dark and having a train come out. It is incredible, and the weather can make it extremely spooky. It can also make it extremely cinematic, and being out there in the dark with no cell service in a place that, like, I'm a paranormal skeptic, but if there's any place on this godforsaken earth that's haunted, it's the inside of that tunnel. And so you're looking into this tunnel, and you see the little pinprick of light in the distance, and finally, the air starts whooshing out of the tunnel, and then the train appears. Because it's much cooler inside the tunnel than it is outside, it also makes a lot of condensation. It's, just like a outgassing of clouds into the nighttime air, and it is absolutely surreal. Was waiting there for a while for this train. But we weren't waiting right at the tunnel portal. We were waiting a little ways down because my friend wanted to have cell service. There is no service right at the tunnel portal. And I acquiesced. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. We can go over there. I really want to be at the tunnel portal, and you know that, but it's okay that we aren't. Like, I know you don't want to be in a place without cell service for an unknown amount of time, just sort of sitting there twiddling your thumbs. I get it. And there were other reasons, too, that don't bear getting into, but the point is, I'd sort of made my peace with that, and I was bummed, but, it is what it is. Now, at the same time, he was being very apologetic, but we were still there, and there was nothing to come out. Nothing on the scanner, just sort of waiting. It gets dark. And then finally we hear the defect detector go off. And it's like, oh my god, here it comes for real, get in the car. We're going to go here, and then this little dirt road parallels the railway until it splits off. A few miles later, that's what we're going to do. Get in, let's go. And we did, and we raced this NS train, effectively NS train, Pan Am Southern, all the way from not quite the end of the Hoosick Tunnel, but on the main road there at Zor, all the way to where it ducked into the woods and we were no longer able to follow it, and we stopped there. And it was like, wow, that was amazing. And he was like, I can't believe that happened. Like, honestly, it would have been really great to see it come out of the tunnel. I'm sorry that I missed that. I'm bummed out. I feel bad. And he was apologizing to me, and I was like, no, it's no big deal. Like, I've seen it before, and yeah, I would have loved to see it, but you don't need to apologize profusely to me about a rail fanning thing. It's not that big of a deal. But as we're sitting there and having, like, the really lighter version of this conversation, I heard sounds, and he heard sounds, and it's like, oh shoot, is it the other NS train in the other direction? And him, because he's a goddamn genius and he knows locomotives in a way that I never will, and he knows the railroad in a way that I never will, he goes, no, that's GE power. That's got to be Pan Am. And then, out of the woods comes bursting this, not local, but one of the mainline Pan Am freights that we did not expect to see, that we thought was way off our radar, and it's a booking. And we chased it back in the other direction. We chased it all the way back until it went into the tunnel. And that was the greatest chase I've ever had while rail fanning. Um, the other ones that come really close are also ones up there. I mean, Gloria and I did that chase as well, out of the tunnel, not back, just out. And it was spectacular. I love it. Um, which was your first chase was 611 in 2023, and it did not go well. Please elaborate. How did it not go well? What's going on? I was gone for missing. Talking about chasing trains. Okay. We filled in that triangle, I guess. You'd love to live in one of these houses. Yeah, it would certainly be interesting living here, because you get the loaded grain trains that are heading this way, and you also get the other trains that are powering up this grade to head that way. Was waiting at a crossing for 30 minutes, and these three guys rolled up right as the train was coming through, and stood in front of me. Oh man, that's a shame. Gotta form a photo line. Kids these days. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, no, you do. It's helpful to find a way that lets you and everyone else around you get your shot. Gotta shoot your shot, right? Okay. This also needs a fence. Oh man, I have some songs that are like irreparably wedged in my head right now. It's really being a problem. Gloria can probably guess what one of them is. Oops. There we go. Gloria's locked in on the Sims over there. Never mind. Alright. Bring this up to here. Oh, we can see a bit of the baseboard again. Oh, you know what? I actually don't need this front piece of fence. There. I don't know if you're interested, but Old Colony Newport is doing their first public passenger train to Newport from Portsmouth since 2014 next Sunday. Next Sunday, so not this coming Sunday. Next Sunday is the 27th. What are we doing on the 27th? Sea Glass. That's right, I'm going to be out of town. I knew there was something. There's a Sea Glass festival in Mystic that day, so take some good photos for me. Hi, Venkman. I don't know if Venkman got breakfast. I cannot remember giving him breakfast. I need to spend some more time like hanging out with you guys in the foam squad, because like I know you from the PN and from here, and I know Yankee well enough, but I barely know everybody else. Like I can scarcely tell people apart some days. All right, let's do that. This is really irritating my hangnail when I stick my finger in here. Oh, I should just be doing this. Oh god, they're everywhere. It's also pretty warm in here, so try not to let the chocolate melt. Okay. So we did that. Let's make a diversion. The viewer count is half of it was at the peak. At least according to my end. So, I can afford to take a little diversion. Let's pull open some... Uh-oh. What the hell was that? Good, then go chase Essex. Yeah, I mean, you can have a really trainful day. Okay, screen. So, we have our thing of industries, right? There are certain industries that are run by... that are not... and it doesn't count anyone in here, because all the ones in here are not set up. Certain industries that we have that are not multiple industry. These are the problem ones. These are the ones we need to fix. This one is a multiple industry. All of these in here are too, including you, which I don't know if this one is set up. It is not. Okay, so we need to set this one up. This is a general goods. This is a goods shed. This is a team track. This is because we don't have general goods here in town anywhere, which I thought was a miss, and I don't know why I neglected to do that the first time I set up all the industries here. Like, this is fine. This is loading like barley or something. It's grain HP. Okay, we really need to find some destinations for grain HP. Oh, it did. It went from... Look at that. It boop, back down and back up. I was like, oh, damn, we only got 4 viewers. That's fine. I'll only bore 4 people to death. But yeah, this industry, I think, does 20 cars of grain a day. And then this is general goods. Oh, we do have a team track here. This is some kind of general goods. What else can we have here? What other commodity could we drop off? What miscellaneous commodities do we have that we could drop off? If we look at freight cars and loads, we've got all this stuff over here. We could have something like bricks, you know? We can't have camp goods because that's a narrow gauge only commodity. We could have some other stuff like, you know, we could have random stuff that would only be on a given day. The crate of machine parts is narrow gauge only. The Del Monte product crate, which I don't think we use anywhere. It would be kind of fun to use that. What happened to Del Monte? What's the meme about Del Monte? I thought they died or something. Like, what was that about? Trying to get as much 3025 footage as this is the last year it's going to be coal-fired. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that one before. An oil-fired SY, huh? Where'd you hear that, Train Street? Alright, so got finished leather. That's not a bad one. We could also... hardware. Hardware is an interesting one. What is this? What car is this in? And also, how come I can't see the scroll bar? 40-foot DRGW boxcar new 1. Custom 40-foot boxcar number 1. I mean, we could put in hardware as one of the commodities. I mean, we could have 2 commodities, even. We don't need 1. We could have this take 2 commodities. 1 boxcar full of each. Now, the problem is... then it needs to have both to consume 1, which is something I'm trying to avoid. So, I might just do tools. Model pickup drop. Oh shoot, this is broke. This is gonna be broken, isn't it? Oh, I didn't make a queue yet. Huh? Oh, hardware. Hardware is the name. And there are two different kinds of hardware. So this is the hammer one. That's not the one I want. How about the second one? Yeah, okay. That's better. Let me just make sure that... So I'm going to set this multiple pickup drop off. Oh, this is the broken one. Come on, don't do this to me. Alright, hold on. I gotta find a different one. Multiple industry basic. No, new. Multiple industry new. Oh yeah, and that's longer too. Not that that's actually better in this case because it's gonna stick out way past the end of the industry, but we'll have to make that work. Okay, why is the hitbox all shakwad? Oh, okay, we have multiple industry new short track. Oh, that's not. Damn. Oh, I didn't mean to put that down. I wanted to get rid of this one, actually. So, this is going to be a team track. And I need to rotate it slightly. And I need to make sure it's parallel. I should probably just square it up and then find everything else later. See, this is where Surveyor 2.0 comes in handy because I can grab this and just sort of scoop them out of the way. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Did I grab grass? No, I didn't. Okay, that's cool. That's good. Let's bring this up to the end there, and then it actually fits pretty well. Let's just plug that into there. And then what I can do is I can grab this whole piece of track and just scoot it so that that becomes much shorter. You want a little bit of extra room afterward, but I think that will be enough. There we go. $49 pre-conversion. Yeah, that'd be neat. Okay. So we've got that in. I need to go back into Surveyor Classic to really manipulate it. I need to make sure my numbers are right for the Valley Railroad engines. Okay. Queues. This one should be in... There. Oh, nope. Nope, that's the wrong one. Did it change? Did it change which one it is? I thought I just clicked the one on the bottom. Did I miss? Oh, no. It is the one on the top. Okay. Waybill is going to be set to 50%. Hardware, if we look at our... hardware, hammer, so this is 7 is a carload, which that's actually kind of difficult because you can't divide it into 7. Okay. Let's see. Carloads per day, 1. Units per carload, 7. Units per production, 1. Yeah, okay, so I need that to not be... I need that to not be like that. What if we do 2 carloads per day? And then... 7 carloads per production? No, because that's less than the minimum. You can't divide 14 by 4. But Yeah, units per production 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we either do 4 carloads a day, which seems absurd, or we do 7. Hmm. Although if we do carloads per day 3, then we can do 3 units per production. No, that doesn't make sense either. 7 is a really difficult number to deal with, apparently. Um, I mean, things don't need to be perfect anymore, but they really should be. That's the problem. Now, maybe we'll just use the other kind of hardware. We'll use the other kind of hardware. That 50. The size is, let's see, how many are in a carload? 40. That works for me. You can divide 14 by 4, it's 3.5. Also, hi, Auntie. At a 10-13 card and you've got a perfect batch. Thank you. Could use a Sheets or 10. When was the first Sheets? We went through this exact thing with Waffle House earlier in the show. When was the first Sheets? Alright, hardware, we're going to start it with half full, which is 1 carload, which I need to set that to units. 1952, okay, that's perfect. That's even earlier than Waffle House. Oh, home without a tattoo. What happened? Okay, 40 items. I need to set this to hardware, and I would like it to unload from vehicle. And then I would like it to 21,600, which is going to consume hardware. It's going to consume 10 items. Well, actually, I should make this a little easier on myself. If we do the industry calculator, if I say 1 carload per day, 40 units per carload, 4 units per production, actually I might even be able to go down to 1 units per production, 2160, 40 units per day. That way it's more granular. And I think that's a good thing. Process duration 2160, I wanted to consume 1 item per. Start enabled true, of course. That way it will just run the way it should. And that's that. Oh, we need a name for it, which is going to be... oh, no source of hardware. No surprise there. Which is going to be Pan Am Team Track. Actually, we have a standards document where I've put down what we should be labeling everything. I like the chat on the side, by the way. Yeah, this is, how many marshmallows does one need to shut down a tattoo parlor? Too many peeps. Oh, they did 50 tattoos. Wow. Town/railroad name use. And this is, Pan Am is PA, right? Yeah. So it should be PA Team Track Hardware. How about that? So now we have one more industry in here. I have to put this in the list. Yeah, the thing on the side, and also I do agree, Shogun 2 goes hard for no reason. Okay, so we need to put in industries. This is under olive, generally speaking. Right. Which, there should be a... Oh, no, sorry, it's under Bellington. Which I need to drop in a row below here. Bellington, Pan Am, Team Track, Hardware, Hammer. I think that's what it was, right? Hardware, Hammer. Yeah, it needs to be perfect like that. Production per day. Oh, sorry, I put this in the wrong spot. Shoot. Pan Am. This is a consumer industry. So what I actually need to do is insert cells. Oh, that's already called the team track. This is already called team track. So what do we call this? Pan Am. What should I call this? It's a place that has hardware store. I'm just going to Pan Am hardware drop off. It's descriptive. Hardware Hammer. Okay, so what I need to do here is I need to clear all this out. I need to put a line there, put a line here, put a line here and here, and then I need to set this. Maximum and current are going to be the same, 40, 40. This should just work fine. No, it does not work fine. Oh, because I've had it backwards the entire time. Hardware tools is the one that goes to 40. Damn it. And now that shows correctly. But of course now our industry is all cocked up, so I need to fix that. Whoops-a-daisies. Have we discussed the Union Pacific news that just dropped? A little bit earlier on, I talked about how I felt like this kind of thing was inevitable, or at least that's what was said to me, and I can't say I disagree with it. I don't know how the Class 1 railroading industry can really get worse than where it has been. So I am, like, I'm not concerned, really. Like, I'd be lying if I said I was concerned about the outcome of this. It's just going to be, like, the functional monopolies that these railroads have, or the actual physical monopolies that these railroads have over the regions they operate in is not really going to change. So I don't really think, like this feels inevitable. A private equity hold my beer. I did some reading about private equity the other day, and it's not the boogeyman that we all seem to think it is, but it can absolutely be used to just wreck stuff. It can absolutely bleed a business dry, but there are plenty of success stories where private equity has swooped in and saved a failing business and then sold it off, and no one really is any the wiser. Quality might drop, but usually private equity only swoops in when there's a lot of debt already. I don't expect the railroads to be in that position. Coast to Coast Union Pacific would be kind of wild. Just on its own, load size 1 items 1 units, consume 4 every 2160, unload from vehicle 40 items. Okay, that's correct now. So from the perspective of Amtrak, that is a very fair point. There is Union Pacific has never really been a friend to Amtrak. And I'm surprised to say that NS sort of has any reasonable track record with them, but yeah, NS used to be the worst by a country mile. But, you know, will it make things worse, or will things just continue to be miserable? I sometimes I struggle to see how things could get worse without them being made deliberately worse. And I'm not here to decide incompetence or malice at the hands of the Class 1 freight railroads, but it's sort of like it's sort of like they're not doing it necessarily deliberately. They're doing it because they just don't give a damn. It's not incompetence. It's just pure carelessness. And like, will it make a difference? Will caring even less matter? I mean, it's good to see that the Pennsylvanian is theoretically getting some love, and NS is putting some attention into it. I look at that and I wonder, okay, but how much did they have to, like, how much did the long dick of the federal government have to convince NS to do that? Because they're not doing it out of altruism, Um, so okay, this is something. Oh, the state is also, yeah, the state too. Um, my incompetence is now your problem. Yeah, no, that's fair. I just I hesitate to. Why is it producing coal? Oh right, oh right. No, that's fine. Um, wait, can I have an idea? Um, what if it produces no coal? Huh? How about that? Um, MLGE coaling tower. That doesn't fit the standard, does it? Oh, town location, rare description. Oh, it's a facility. It's not an industry. Um, so the entire Enola Conway route would be eminent domain. Nice. Um, yeah. Well, either way, it is the very deliberate pressure being get. Oh, this is not. I need to go into the content manager and see if there's a short one. Um, it's very deliberate pressure being placed on the railroad by an external entity, by a government body that is saying, like, no, you do this. We're telling you to do this. You're gonna do this. Um, and you know, um, like that's good. That's what we want to see happen. But it once again isn't something that the railroad just sort of decided. Yeah, it would be real cool if we did this. It is a very much a the government is stepping in and saying, no, you're going to do this. Like, you're absolutely, like, we're making you do this. You don't have a choice here. Um, okay, let's see. I need the size to be 1 carload of coal, but I don't actually need to accept a carload of coal. Actually, no. I need to treat this like an industry that has, no, not you. I need to treat it like an industry that has, um, that can fit 2 cars of coal, but it's going to be dumping them into over there. I don't think would be beholden to the eastern states in the way that NS is. UP has pretty infamously told Texas to F off more than once. I mean, that's fair, but also, I feel like Texas really couldn't care less about applying the amount of pressure that is necessary. Um, very different vibes, you know? Uh, hold on, how much is a carload of coal? Um, do I need to put in a commodity balance here now? I think I do. Um, so, I'm I definitely understand where you're coming from. I'm not totally sure. I'm not totally sure if what is going on here. How come it's not saying? Sorry, hang on a second. I should be using VLOOKUP for this. That's the problem. The problem is I should be using VLOOKUP for this. Hardware, hammer. Industries, F3 to F5. F3 to F5. Oh, okay. Hold on. I get it. No, I don't get it. Why isn't it working? Because it's not hammer, it's tools. That's why. Except now it's still not working. Excuse me. What is going on? Consumed. Should be consumed. Wait a minute. No, that makes sense. Sum if L4, L6. Oh, because it doesn't start at L3 anymore. Because, oh, that's why. That's why. Because I added a thing. How about N3 to N6 and L3 to N6? There we go. Should be using index match. I try to avoid using index match. I try to avoid using index match. What I actually should be using is count ifs. I think. Index match is a little clunky. Okay. I used to use it a hell of a lot, but really, these should be using like sum ifs, and it should also be checking that it's the right thing instead of manually selecting the range for all of these. At any rate, what did I come here to do? I wanted to find the carload size for coal. Coal is 69,294. And 69,294 times 2 is... I just... 69294. And that'll do all that math for me. Oh wait, I already had that over here, but that's from before. 138,588. And that is our size. 138,588. Products, this has got to be set to units or items. 138,588. And then 69,294. So it's half full. And I don't want you to do anything other than that. What I want to do, so I want to click on this. I want to set that process to being disabled. I want to mark that as completely full. And so, let's see. MLGE coal drop off. So, this is going to go right here. And this is part of my contribution to try to eliminate as many non-multiple industries as possible. I'm not really eliminating one, but I am taking it over. All of the thinking is going to be done by the multiple industry instead of by this coal thing here. Let's do that. Let's do that. And of course, the missing piece here, is an industry link, which I'll just drop that right there. You think it would be a good idea if railroads were to die-merge, returning to multiple companies? So, no. And the reason why is that railroads' biggest competition is no longer other railroads. And it doesn't matter how much you break them down, that really isn't going to change. Because while you can make a set of railroads competitive with one another, it's really hard to make them competitive with trucking. And that's the biggest problem. That is what they're up against. Sure, you're never going to beat them out for bulk commodities like coal, but you want them to be competitive in other things too. Hold on, MVGE. MVGM coal? Is that what this is? Masons Valley. Hold on. What is this called? Oh, it's MLGE Coaling Tower. That's why. ML, not MV. Also, these all need to be fixed. So, no, I don't think, like, having multiple companies in a region would be lovely, but the problem isn't having multiple companies in a region, it's having multiple companies in a town. Having multiple companies that can theoretically serve a given industry. Oh shoot, this needs to be where it's coming from. Coal drop off, product. Why can't I do this? ML GE cooling tower. There we go. Maybe I need to. There we go. I needed to set both ends first. Okay. So now you can drop off coal over here and it'll appear over there. This I don't think I can do anything with. It's just an ash pit. It doesn't have any active industry sections or anything like that. Yeah. If all the railroads had to do was deal with each other, then I would pretty firmly be on the side of, yeah, break up the major companies and merger, demerger mania this thing. Make sure that there are, at least 2 companies going into every major town, at least 3 if possible, and more is better, right? And also you can have things like reciprocal switching, which I thought was a very silly industry buzzword at first, but it turns out to be kind of a good idea. Which is, if a business is saying, hey, we're not being served well by this company, can the other one come and serve us over this company's tracks instead? And the, FRA can step in and say, yeah, absolutely, they can come in over their competitors' tracks and serve you, as long as, they've met the requirements for poor service, right? So, like, that would be great. And in order to do reciprocal switching, you do need to have another railroad sort of within a stone's throw. And that's fairly rare. But there isn't quite enough infrastructure to go around to break up the railroads in a way that would make that easy to do. And we're sure as hell not going to build more. And the more times a piece of cargo has to be handed off, the less efficient the railroad gets. And it's not by a little, it's by a lot. Railroading gets much more, a car arrives at a yard and sits there until the next train is ready to go out. Or it takes a while to get shunted, or, the more handoffs, the more likely things are to get confused. It's something that rapidly becomes a problem because all of that confusion and hesitation What the hell is that? All of that confusion and hesitation uh, leads to delays, and delays to shippers when it is just as easy to, oh my god, delays to shippers when it is just as easy to, or significantly easier and faster to throw a bunch of stuff on a truck and get it directly to your destination without it changing hands once. That's a losing proposition for the railroads. So, no, I don't think that solves the problem as much as I would like it to, as much as it would be neat, as much as it would be cool. Um, as much as it feels like it does from the railroad perspective, but the issue is much bigger than the railroad perspective. The state of the modern railroading is kind of why I wish the IACC had allowed the PRR and ATSF to at least discuss merging. At least those two gave some of a damn about their respective employees. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have more than their modern conglomerates. Yeah, I mean, the bar is on the floor, but you're absolutely right. It's like, if we could have started the transcontinental mergers back when there was a buttload of extra track, then maybe the industry would look a little different. But I still think you run into the problem with trucks overtaking virtually every, virtually all traffic that isn't huge bulk. And then you're left with a decision, which is either I'm just going to throw down some multiple industries here for myself so I can work on them later. What's up, baby?
I think the dryer's broken.
The dryer's broken? Again?
The knob's not turning.
That's not good. I'll go mess with it in a minute.
Did you hear me?
No.
I was poking the floor trying to get your attention.
Oh, I heard something. I wasn't sure what that was.
Okay.
Well, I will go and fiddle with it in a minute. Multiple industry. So you kind of yeah, I don't know what the XP does. It's something that YouTube added. You kind of are left with the choice of either, oh shoot, I can't put these here. Not yet anyway. Either you sort of let the railroads fall back to the thing that they're good at, which is bulk commodities, grain and coal and intermodal traffic like container traffic, and do nothing else, or you nationalize them, or at least let them become one giant conglomerate and put on some strict safeguards so that they can't just totally ruin the consumer for those commodities which do need to be transported by rail. And both of those are a tough sell. And the alternative, of course, is we are left with the current state of railroads, which is a dangerous and rapidly growing worse, cutting corners for the sake of investors and shareholders, while not really making any efforts to claw back the traffic that they're losing to trucks. And part of that is, tied to the idea that there is not much they can do unless they have complete control over all the facets of their supply chain. When you're relying on your neighbors, who may as well be may just as well be your competitors, there's not a huge incentive to get stuff to move along in the best way, in the fastest way, unless that stuff is making you a lot of money, like intermodal traffic. We have plenty of that situation hanging around. It's sort of comes back to what I was saying earlier. The railroads are doing what they're good at. So yeah, the more things merge, the better things are for the railroads in as far as their ability to move things efficiently and thus make money. And of course, it's a business venture. They're there to make money. Um, and like there's no stopping this. This is the deal that we have, and as I talked about sort of at the beginning of the show, um, the railroads have a stranglehold on the United States because they grew up with the United States. They've got an awful lot of power. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here so I can try to fix my dryer. We will come back next week and do some more industry work. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and I will see you all next week. This is the Admiral, signing off.